Hello fellow members of the CIA. I have a question for you. Is religion the base of terrorist organizations? I have gathered some information regarding them and what we should do to handle the issue better. Since 2002, Boko Haram has been organized underneath the Muslim cleric Mohammed Yusuf, and from there they began to spread Sharia law. The motives of Boko Haram are based off of the Islamic religion and are executed as religious violence. Some terms you should know are Sharia law, the Caliphate, what jihad means on both sides, and the difference between the Shias and the Sunnis. Jihad means struggle, but radicals interpret it different than non-radicals. To the radicals, attacking the West is a part of that struggle. To the non-radicals there are two different meanings, the outer and the inner. The outer is about protecting Islam from outside aggression, and the inner is the struggle to seek self-improvement in the way of Allah. The Caliphate is the successor to the Prophet Muhammad, and this is a huge conflict in the Middle East and with Boko Haram, because ever since the 1920s there has been no caliphate. Boko Haram wants to have a caliphate while the non-radicals don't want a caliphate. Boko Haram wants an Islamic state ruled by Sharia law. Sharia law is a set of rules that you must follow from the Quran, but they are interpreted differently by the radicals and non-radicals. The radicals interpret Sharia law more literal, which includes things like stoning and the oppression of women. Non-radicals interpret it more loosely and choose not to include harsh punishments. Once the Prophet Muhammad died in 632, the Muslims split off into two different groups, the Shias and the Sunnis. The Sunnis wanted the caliphate to be chosen by Muhammad's community of followers, while the Shias wanted the caliphate to stay in the family. The Sunnis were more popular, so they got to choose the caliphate, and the Shias chose Muhammad's son-in-law as their head of state. After this there were many conflicts between the two, such as terrorist groups, oppressive governments, and numerous Sunni and Shia militant groups. Boko Haram rebels aim to make northern Nigeria an Islamic state. More than 4,700 people have died in violence that first erupted in 2009 in the northeast city of Maiduguri. Half have been killed in Boko Haram attacks on government institutions, churches, and secular schools. On July 2009, the Boko Haram uprising begins in Maiduguri and spreads to Borno, Kano and Yobe. The uprising ends when police capture the group's leader, Mohammed Yusuf. August 23, 2012, Boko Haram has begun peace talks with the Nigerian government. We are telling the government to understand that if it is not ready to embrace Sharia and the Quran as the guiding book from which the laws of the land derive, there shall be no peace. From this point on there have been many attacks on the villages in Nigeria where Boko Haram has abducted women and killed men. On March 7, 2015, in an audio message purportedly from leader Abubakar Shekau, Boko Haram pledges allegiance to ISIS, the Islamic militant group which controls areas of Iraq and Syria. March 12, 2015, in an audio message purportedly from an ISIS spokesman, the group announces that the caliphate has expanded to Western Africa and that ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi has accepted Boko Haram's pledge of allegiance. I predict that in the future there will be an Islamic state controlled by a caliphate. The reason I say this is due to the fact that there has already been a caliphate elected for ISIS and that there has been numerous attacks on the villages of northern Nigeria, meaning that Boko Haram is targeting that area for some reason.